My name is Krystina Briones, and I work for Waukegan College. I had David and a former employee reached out to our executive director, I believe back in 2019, and they came out to our offices in Waukegan and sat down and basically pitched the vision of the tools of the community they were looking to create. I've been doing this work for about 13 years. I started on the college access side. So I was supporting first-gen students for about a decade, helping them get into college. And I was really excited to finally switch to the persistence side because it was really evident that getting them in school was just step one. So to become a college success coach or somebody who just supports in college persistence was really important because it felt like it was doing it halfway to only stay on the access side. I've had a number of fellows who have debated whether or not to leave school, and for a variety of different reasons. Mental health is often something that's impacting that decision. And last year, early in the fall, I did have a student who was really just set on leaving school, taking a pause because they were unsure what the future vision was. At the end of the day, I made it very clear that it was their decision, but thinking very practically in terms of if they were to take a pause, how essential it was for them to have their transcripts squared away, and if they were going to stay in school to ensure they were keeping their GPA as high as possible and being really cognizant of the fact that they might want to come back. So the worst thing you want to do is leave your academic situation, your financial situation kind of in shambles. So we talked about a very practical plan, and then we switched obviously to the socio-emotional plan in terms of the tools they were going to need. Ultimately, they stayed that semester. They took a leave of absence the following semester, which is really good for their mental state at the time. But now they are heading back this fall. But I think that required a lot of communication, a lot of follow-up, and those surveys that UtmostU sends out on a monthly basis. When a student is consistently read, take that seriously, right? Don't just assume that you know what their situation is. So if I text or if I call, I'm going to hear the same things I've been hearing, but to continue to follow up. So they're heading back to campus this fall. I hope it's to graduation. They are in their senior year, but we'll see. I'm still staying in communication is key. Worked in nonprofits since I've graduated, and it's really evident that you wear multiple hats, and oftentimes you can feel as if you're operating on your own. So I think one of my personal selfish reasons for really enjoying my work with UtmostU is the community of other college persistence folks that just get it. They get the terminology, they get the challenges, they get the students, they get the need, and not to say that my team as a whole does not, because obviously there's a financial and a time investment on behalf of the organization to work with UtmostU, but it feels like my team expanded in terms of brainstorming and finding the best tools to track our students. And there's an agreed sense of urgency among myself, the staff, the other coaches of the students that we're supporting in college. Because again, unless your organization is completely focused on college persistence, you can feel like you are on your own trying to figure out, right, how to support the students that are undergrads or have unenrolled or whatever their current situation is. So I just love the community of people that UtmostU has brought to my team. But just this past week, I had 3 different students who secured internships. And I will say UtmostU's, again, those brainstorming conversations, the new tools that they're looking to develop around career advising and things of that nature, it certainly brought career prep to the forefront of my coaching. It's made me double down on the importance of ensuring that our students have summer opportunities, including internships. So the internships that our students were reporting back on this past week weren't necessarily through UtmostU, but again, I feel like our urging of them to secure them was certainly part of the whole vibe I was getting from UtmostU last year. They came back, and we had a student that was interning on the West Coast, one that was interning locally, one that was interning here in Chicago. It was awesome to hear how they showed up in those spaces, and they just received so many accolades. They were given so many compliments by their teammates, by their supervisors. And we're talking either smaller banking organizations or larger corporations, including Microsoft. And all across the board, they were just getting awesome reviews from these individuals when we kept bringing it back. And I always love asking the questions like, what prepared you to show up in that way? Like, why could you deal with that teamwork or that team situation, that challenge so well? Or, what made you feel so confident about using your elevator pitch during the networking opportunities with that internship? They always brought it back to Waukegan College, right? They're like, I feel like this organization has really grounded me being a part of this organization. They would say, oh, all of those opportunities you all made us sit through, right? Whether it was in high school or, anything they've done afterwards in terms of our programming. So I am loving seeing our students going out into the world and killing it and feeling like we've had even a small part in that. And then they're just so excited to share the information they've gathered with the younger generation. I'm like, I need you to talk to all the other computer science, students. And they're like, awesome, put us on Discord, we'll get them hooked up. Like, I'm gonna let them know everything I experienced this summer. And that's awesome because it's like harvesting community information amongst the youth. So yeah, last week was it was awesome. It was awesome in the office because the college students were just coming back and sharing all of their triumphs. And I loved hearing it, so. I think it's constantly reminding me, just in a larger sense in life, whether you're being a friend or you're being a family member, like you need to be held accountable to what it is that you say you're going to do, right? I feel like with coaching, it's a tall order. Like we present ourselves in front of our students, like, come to me for any situation. If I don't have the answer, I'm gonna find you the resource. I'm with you to the end. I'm gonna help see you through graduation. Like we make some pretty intense promises in terms of what we're able to do for our students. And it's really important to follow through because they hear you and they will follow up on what it is that you said you are able to guide them on. I think it's just holding myself accountable to keeping my promises or staying accessible, staying available, and not giving up on a student if they were to shy away or they were to say, actually, I changed my mind, and they disappear for a minute. And for me to not take that personally, right? Like that's what they're going through whenever they're ready to come back to get to work again, that I'm here for them. So I think that's just kind of held me to be more accountable to people, or under promise and over deliver and not promise too much on the more than I can offer on the onset, because as my caseload continues to grow, the demands and continue to increase. So I also need to be modest in what I can actually do as a one-person operation in my organization. I love pulling up receipts. I'm pulling up the notes, right? The things that they said they wanted to accomplish at the beginning of their college journey, maybe even as far back as senior year. Maybe it's just what they said they wanted to accomplish at the beginning of the semester. I really try to capture both like physical notes and like mental notes about what it is that they say they wanted to achieve or the challenges they say they want to overcome. So I love mirroring to them, right? Like I say, like, how's it going? What is it that you're focused on? What is it that you're proud of? Just making sure like, hey, you also mentioned this, or hey, that tracks because you mentioned this before. And it sounds like you're right on target, or it sounds like that's no longer the focus. That's okay. Are you shifting completely? Or you're not shifting completely. You forgot about it. Okay, let's bring you back. Just always comparing it to what it is that they say they wanted to accomplish. And no doubt, the more information I've gathered about other opportunities for them on their career paths, also putting in new potential goals in front of them and kind of gauging if those things make sense for them to add to their goal list. Just bringing up their own words and holding them accountable to what they say they wanted to do. I know as a college student, you have so much going on, and I feel like at the core of everyone's journey, they want to graduate, right? They want to graduate with some energy left, not feeling absolutely depleted. They want to graduate having a sense of where they are financially. They want to graduate as viable candidates for jobs in their industry. In terms of my approach to coaching, it's always kind of keeping those core goals in mind, trying to like ground the student in, like I mentioned before, what their original goals are, what their past accomplishments have been to kind of gear them up with some confidence for some future challenges that they're going to experience. So yeah, I think it's being the holder of future vision, being the practical plan maker or assistant maker to my students. Again, holding them accountable to what it is that they say that they want to do. So I don't know if that's like worded well as a philosophy or an approach. I'm where they can come to like throw up ideas and just have like stream of consciousness moments in terms of what it is they're working on and they're looking forward to. And I try to help them piece together a really practical plan for that. I mean, that's something I really needed when I was younger, somebody to kind of hold the bigger picture for me. So I try to do that for those who need it. What's really awesome about our program is I get to meet our students as high school students, and I get a sense of their personalities. And I think that the moment I notice there's something on their mind, right? It's either weighing on them in their facial expression and their tone, and they're missing multiple meetings, like never letting it go unnoticed, right? I mean, to use a buzzword, right? Like wanting to make them feel seen, right? Like I hear that, I see that, I want to recognize that you missed this, like what's going on, and always giving them an out, right? Like, hey, I've made this observation, I am here to hear you out. We can either problem solve around it, or I can just be a sounding board, or we don't have to go there today. But I just want you to know that I see it. I see something, going awry. That has helped a ton. And even if they haven't opened up in that moment, I always know with a follow-up text or with our next conversation that we've moved the needle just that much further, right, with the trust. And the students that I found that just are really just not about it and they're not gonna disclose, or they're just not gonna, I'm not their person, that's totally fine. But I put extra emphasis into encouraging them to identify the right person then, and letting them know that it is an impossibility for them to do this on their own. So again, if not me, then I am here to help you find that right person because it needs to happen. I think that's helped wonders.